So I
Yeah.
want to know, how did you, how did you get started into lifting weights? How did it all start?
Oh, that was an uncle of mine. Uh, I was about 13, 13 years old, something like that. And he was like a sort of old-time strongman. And he got
Okay.
me interested. He got me interested in weight training. You know, he was, always talking about it and that. And I just wanted to, get like him, really. That was what stimulated me to do it.
Right. Okay. Probably what year was it? Do you remember?
Oh God.
Probably before I was born, maybe.
Yeah. Uh, in about 70, 74, 75,
All right.
1974, something like
The
that.
pumping iron, the pumping iron era. I mean, it was not released. It released in 1977. So before
Yeah, I mean,
that.
yeah, yeah. Before that came out, yeah. I started with Charles Atlas. You remember him?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember like Joe Weider started this magazine with him where like a skinny kid gets kicked in the beach on the sand in the face, and Charles Charles Atlas has his books where he says lift weights and grow your muscles, and probably you can pick up beautiful
Yeah,
girls and kick the guys in the ass.
yeah. Well, none of that really happened, but I mean, I remember it was a magazine before Joe Vida's magazine. My uncle gave me it was like I forget now what it was, Health and Strength or something like that. I can't remember.
Okay,
It's
yeah. I
a
think
really
that's the
old
one.
magazine. And I
Yeah.
wrote off, I sent some money off for Charles Atlas course, and it came every 2 weeks, like a printed out course. I mean, he
Okay.
died
What
many
was that?
years before that. And it was dynamic tension. That's what it was called.
Yeah, I think dynamic tension. That's what he started. I think even before that there was before Charles Settlers there was Eugene Sandow. I think he also sold few of the equipments based on dynamic tension. Was
Yeah,
that course helpful? Or was that helpful?
yeah. I mean, I think people still, you know, train in that way. In some ways, it's like a lot of, static sort of,
Push and pull
static
movement
sort of
probably.
exercise. You're not really moving a lot. There's a lot of, just using your own body weight and one muscle against another,
Okay.
that sort of thing. Um, I mean, bodybuilding, it's like a sort of business model, really, isn't it? They sort of get the body and then they bring out the courses, but now obviously it's t-shirts and supplements,
Yeah.
YouTube channels and all that. It sort of follows on. But it's the same. They've always done the same sort of thing, right back to when Sandow started. He used to do private shows for women and all sorts of stuff. So
He was
there's
the
nothing.
first. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think he was the first crossover from a strength athlete to a bodybuilder kind of physique. And what I feel is when they started out, they started with like they were more into selling the strength stuff, but eventually now it
Mm,
turned into a beauty contest sort of sport where you just chisel the physique.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I doubt whether it has that much of physical strength, or probably what do you call it, a strength which can be applied in our daily work or something like that.
I
Functional
mean,
muscle rather.
my uncle, he was training in the, sort of 1930s and 40s, and he
Okay.
wasn't into bodybuilding. It was all strongman stuff. I mean, he used to be able to,
Hmm.
bend nails, spikes,
Right.
and it was a lot of that sort of thing. Not so much bodybuilding, you
Okay,
know.
I think then that's more. I think he dates back to like before. who is that? I think Steve Reeves, before Steve Reeves, because I think Steve Reeves was the first crossover into the
Mm. Yeah.
bodybuilding kind of sport. Before that, it was all about strength and weightlifting.
Mm. There was a guy called Hackenschmidt. He's the one they named the hack squat after. A German guy, I think. He was a sort of bodybuilder, type. You don't hear anything about him though, but he was the one who they named the hack squat after, because he didn't
Okay.
like to do ordinary squats, so he sort of made up his own machine for doing it.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's
Hackenschmidt, I think his name was.
okay.
You can look him up because you obviously haven't heard of him.
Yeah, I think he's probably he was in the German Defense Army or something. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know, George Hackenschmidt, I think his name was. So they ended up calling his invention the hack squat.
So Nigel, you're from London, or where exactly are you from? Just
I was born in East London, Hackney,
okay.
and brought up in Essex, which is about 20 miles from London.
Okay.
I live in Wellingborough now, which is about 80 miles from London. So I trained around quite a few of the gyms in East London. I started out in a gym called Len Sells. I mean, Len Sells was an old time bodybuilder. He's on Google. Like, I think he was a former Mr. Universe in his day.
Okay.
A lot of the guys on YouTube, they sort of, a subject will come up, and then all the big ones have to do a video on it, and then all the smaller ones will do a video on it, just to get views, really. I mean, the vegan gains thing. I mean, how many people have had to say something on video about that? And the only reason they're doing it is because they can see the massive amount of views that them sort of videos get. Whereas I like your channel because you're obviously a big bodybuilding fan, and you just do your own thing, talk about the history and all of that. You don't get involved in the controversy at all. You're not, blatantly trying to just do things to get views. Obviously you want views, but you're not following the gravy train, as it were.
Right. I mean, thanks, Nigel, for the compliment. Yeah, I don't like to, put people down or probably get into that line until unless, they say something derogatory to me, which even I would probably ignore, because I think what drives my channel or my passion is bodybuilding, and be it any sport or or any form of art which you practice, you need to know the history of it, the roots of it, and where it was, where it is going, and where it can go. So that is very important. So that's why I like making videos on the past or the present, even with a few other workout videos as well.
I mean, do you think bodybuilding where do you think it's going to go? Do you think it's going to get more popular, or is it as good now as it was
I think
years ago?
No, I think it is going towards extinction.
I mean, the women's bodybuilding has.
No, I mean, if you look at it recently, I think Jim Mannion announced a new weight class, which is more like a classic men's physique division. We already had a men's physique contest, which has far more popularity compared to the traditional bodybuilding events. Now, further, you have a classic physique division where I think probably you'll see more ripped guys and lighter guys. It's again, you're selling, it's business, because I think you're selling stuff like supplements and other probably training programs, and you're showing, a means saying that anybody can train and get on stage. You need not have, that particular great genetics or a lot of training experience to get on stage. I think that's what's going to happen, and it'll become more like a carnival. And I think somewhere down the line we are going to we are going to forget the actual bodybuilding and stuff like that. Because if you look at bodybuilders like Reg Park or
Mm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Colombo, I mean they have their roots in weightlifting as well. It's not just that they do few sets of lateral raises and
Mm.
front raises and they
Mm.
have that delts. No, those are functional muscles, and there
Mm.
are people who had full time. I mean, they did not pursue, but at one point of time they did pursue their personal and personal life work as well as they trained. If you look at Sergio Oliva,
Mm.
he was a Cuban weightlifter. He
Mm.
was a Cuban weightlifting champion. Then he had to slog like 12 hours a day in a. I think he used to work in a factory. Okay, where
Mm.
he had to slog, and then he used to come home and probably train like 3 hours or so.
Mm. Mm. I mean,
So that's
Arnold held a stone lifting record, didn't he?
yeah, he did. That was in Germany. I think it was in a beer hall. That's what he says even in his book, where
Yeah.
they used to have this strongman kind of contest, but it was not actually a strongman. But they had these
Mm.
sort of events where they used to lift huge objects.
Mm. There was a big stone with a metal ring or iron ring in the top of it, and you had to sort of
Right.
straddle it and pull it up by the ring. I think he did over 500 pounds.
Yeah, I think his deadlifting highest deadlifting record was like 737 pounds.